They used my son to destroy me, whispering lies behind closed doors. But he revealed something that shook me. I didn't know what to do with those words when they first echoed inside my mind. They weren't just a statement, they were a wound. I remember the exact moment my son whispered them to me. His voice soft, his eyes unsure. A trembling honesty I wasn't prepared for. But before I explain what he said, let me take you back. Because none of this began with a single sentence. It began long before I ever realized I was living inside someone else's plan. My name is Lauren Hayes. I'm 33, and I used to think my life was, if not perfect, at least predictable. I taught English at a middle school. I made pancakes every Sunday. And I believed my husband, Evan, and his family were just difficult, not dangerous. That illusion shattered the afternoon I received a strange message during Sunday lunch at my in-laws' house. A simple text from an unknown number. Don't react. You're being recorded. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. My smile stayed frozen in place while my heart dropped like a stone. I didn't look around right away. Instead, I breathed slowly, pretending to listen to my mother-in-law, Margaret, talk about how some women just aren't raised to handle real family responsibilities. She wasn't even trying to hide who she meant. She never did. My brother-in-law scrolled through his phone. My husband chewed like nothing was wrong. My son, Eli, played with crayons beside me. I felt a faint vibration under the table. Another message. Don't talk. Don't react. Just listen. I lifted my eyes only slightly and scanned the room. A crooked outlet. A slightly shifted photo frame. A decorative clock sitting at a strange angle. My stomach tightened. Someone was watching me. But it wasn't the fear that froze me. It was the confusion. Why me? Why now? And what exactly were they hoping to catch? Later that night in the car, Evan didn't ask why I seemed quiet. He never asked. He lived in a constant fog of avoidance. It was easier for him to pretend his family was just traditional, not controlling. I wanted to bring up the text, but something told me to wait. Observe. Listen. It was what I did best. 2 days later, while Evan showered, I went into his home office to print something for work. That's when I noticed a folder open on his desktop titled LH Weekly Backup. LH. My initials. My heartbeat stuttered. This wasn't accidental. I clicked. Dozens of video files opened before me, each labeled with dates and rooms. Kitchen. Hallway. Living room. Bedroom. Bedroom. My throat tightened as I opened one. There I was, sitting on our bed, talking quietly on the phone to my sister. Crying. Saying I didn't understand why Margaret treated me like an outsider. The audio played clearly. My heartbreak, my vulnerability captured. I clicked another. This one showed Evan and his mother in the kitchen. Margaret whispered, "Just keep letting her talk. She slips when she's emotional. We'll get what we need." Evan didn't respond. He just nodded. A numbness spread across my fingers. I replayed that clip 3 times, trying to decide if I was misinterpreting it. But the intent was unmistakable. They weren't recording the house for safety. They weren't protecting our son. They were building a case. Against me. I spent the next 48 hours pretending everything was normal while a storm built quietly inside me. As a teacher, I'd always been good at keeping a steady face in chaos. But at night, when Evan slept, I sat on the floor with my laptop, digging further. That's when I found the edited versions. Clips where my words were chopped mid-sentence. Moments rearranged to make me sound hysterical, unstable, angry. One video even spliced audio of me crying during my father's anniversary into an argument months later. It was deliberate, calculated, cruel. And suddenly, the warning text made sense. Someone wasn't protecting me out of kindness. Someone was terrified that the plan had gone too far. I started making copies. All of them. I bought an external hard drive and transferred every file. Then I made another copy. And another. If they wanted to bury me with lies, I'd bury them with truth. Still, none of this compared to what happened with Eli. Because the moment my son told me what they'd been whispering to him, that's when whatever innocence I had left disintegrated completely. It happened on a Thursday night. Eli crawled into my lap while I graded papers on the couch. He was quieter than usual, his little hands fidgeting with the sleeve of his sweater. "Mommy," he murmured without looking at me. "Is it true you're leaving me soon?" My world stopped. I felt the air thicken around me. "Who told you that?" I whispered. He hesitated, then leaned close as if someone might hear us even though we were alone. "Grandma says you don't want to stay here anymore. She said you're tired of me." My vision blurred instantly. "Sweetheart, no. Never. Not ever." I held his face gently. "Why would she say that to you?" He swallowed, his voice trembling. "Because she said you're broken." I pulled him into my arms, trying not to let him feel my shaking. Broken. They were planting seeds in his mind, shaping a story, preparing him. For what? To think I was unstable? To hand custody to Evan without a fight? To erase me? That night, when Eli finally fell asleep, I sat beside him in the dark, listening to the rhythm of his breathing. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't confused. I wasn't even angry. I was resolved. If they wanted a war, I wasn't the same woman they thought they could toy with. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to lash out. I wasn't going to crumble the way they expected. I was going to outsmart them. Quietly. Legally? Completely. Because they had crossed a line no mother forgives. They had used my child as a weapon. And I was just beginning to uncover how far this conspiracy truly reached. I knew I couldn't confront anyone yet. Not Evan. Not Margaret. Not even the anonymous person warning me. So the next morning, I took the first step in silence. I walked into school, requested medical leave for acute stress, and left with a signed approval in less than 10 minutes. My principal gave me a sympathetic look. If he only knew. From there, I drove straight to the small law office 2 blocks away. A young attorney named Rachel Meyer sat across from me, listening quietly as I explained everything. When I finished, she didn't ask if I was overreacting. She didn't ask for context. She simply said, "Lauren, what they're doing is illegal. All of it." For the first time in days, I exhaled. I spent the next week reviewing every file in the public library, away from the eyes in my home. Video after video. Clip after clip. But then one recording shattered me in a way the others hadn't. It was Eli sitting on my in-laws' couch, swinging his legs nervously. Margaret leaned close to him, her voice coated in sugar. "Honey, soon Mommy won't be here to confuse you anymore. You'll be safe with us." Safe. From me. My nails pressed into my palms until they hurt. This wasn't passive cruelty. This was intention. And now I had proof. I forwarded every file to Rachel. She called me an hour later. "Lauren, this is enough to file for an emergency protective order. And, honestly, something bigger." I didn't know bigger meant my entire understanding of my marriage was about to break open. One afternoon, as Evan showered, I heard the buzz of his phone vibrating on the nightstand. I wouldn't usually look. But something, intuition, fear, instinct pushed my hand before my conscience could object. A text preview flashed. "Custody strategy drafted. Call me when she slips again." Before I could open it, the phone locked. I sat frozen. Custody strategy. Slips again. So this wasn't improvisation. It was a structured plan. I wasn't dealing with a manipulative mother-in-law. I was dealing with an entire coordinated effort. And my husband was part of it. The next day, someone unexpected contacted me. Evan's sister. She'd always stayed distant, polite, but cold, like she lived her life pretending our family conflicts were just mild inconveniences. She asked me to meet her at a quiet cafe. I almost said no, but something in me, curiosity or desperation, agreed. She arrived looking pale, anxious, gripping her purse like it was an anchor. "Lauren, I can't keep this in anymore," she whispered. I didn't speak, just waited. She shakily pulled a folded paper from her bag and slid it across the table. A printed email. Subject line: Plan for LH's decline. I unfolded it slowly. The email wasn't from Evan. It was from Margaret. Instructions, bullet points, dates, psychological tactics, things like provoke emotional responses quietly. Keep recording whenever she's in vulnerable states. Use Eli when necessary. She reacts strongly to him. Capture inconsistencies to build instability narrative. My eyes slipped over the final line. Once she breaks, everything else will fall into place. My chest felt hollow. Evan's sister whispered, "I didn't agree with any of it. I swear. But I was scared of her. And now they're dragging Eli into it. I can't stay silent anymore." She slid a flash drive toward me. "All the emails. Everything. Just don't involve me." My hand trembled as I took it. This wasn't petty cruelty. This wasn't emotional neglect. This was premeditated. I walked out of the cafe a different woman than the one who walked in. No more fear. No more waiting. No more hoping things would settle. They wanted to play psychological chess? Fine. But they forgot one thing. I'd been studying their moves long before they realized I was in the game. Rachel nearly fell out of her chair when she saw the contents of the flash drive. "Lauren, this is beyond a simple domestic case. This is conspiracy, emotional endangerment, illegal surveillance, manipulation of a minor, judicial interference." She filed several emergency motions that same day. And within 72 hours, a judge approved them all. No contact. Restraining orders. Full temporary custody. I held Eli that night like he was the last warm thing in the world. But even with the orders in place, I wasn't finished. I wanted the truth to come out publicly, not out of revenge, but out of necessity. I needed every lie they built to crumble in front of the people who once believed them. So I arranged a small family dinner, pretending to be desperate for reconciliation. They came dressed in apologies and artificial smiles. Margaret even brought flowers. I thanked her. Then I dimmed the lights and turned on the projector. The room filled with the sound of their own voices. Whispers. Manipulations. Edits. Lies. Side-by-side comparisons of original clips and doctored versions. Snippets of conversations where they encouraged Evan to push me emotionally. Margaret's words echoed through the speakers. "Just keep her talking. She cracks when she feels unheard." For a moment, I forgot to breathe. Evan lunged toward the projector, but the tech I hired blocked him. "There's more," I said quietly. The next clip showed Evan on the phone. "Once she loses it in front of the judge, I'll have everything. Custody, the house, clean exit." Gasps filled the room. A cousin walked out. An aunt started crying. Margaret stuttered, pointing at me. You set this up." But then her husband turned to her, voice cracking. "No, Margaret. You did this. All of it." The room shifted. I didn't have to say anything. The truth was speaking loud enough. By the next morning, Evan packed a bag and left without a word. Margaret moved in with her sister. The rest of the family scattered. But peace didn't come. Something darker did. That evening, I came home to a plain white envelope on my kitchen table. Inside was a photo of me sleeping. And on the back, "You still don't know what I'm capable of." The handwriting wasn't Margaret's. Not Evan's. Not anyone I recognized. A coldness spread across my ribs. Rachel immediately filed another report. The police came. But without knowing who entered the house, the case stalled. I slept with the lights on. I checked the locks 10 times every night. But the worst was still ahead. 3 nights later, while brushing my teeth, I noticed a faint blue glow inside the lampshade above my bed. A tiny, barely visible dot. I pulled the lamp down. A micro camera fell into my hand. My breath vanished. Someone had been in my bedroom recently, watching me. Despite all the restraining orders, despite the legal walls, despite everything. When police traced the device's signal, the truth came out. The camera wasn't installed by Evan. Or Margaret. It was placed by Megan Lang. A woman I'd never met. But she knew Evan. She knew Margaret. And she knew everything about me. Someone who'd been circling my life silently. Watching. Waiting. Her apartment, when raided, was filled with equipment. Photos of me. Schedules. Notes. Maps. Even recordings of Eli from the school playground. Megan was arrested that night. Evan, as an accomplice, was indicted weeks later. Margaret avoided jail but was formally charged with harassment and manipulation of a minor. Their whole web fell apart in a single month. A year later, I live in a small home with a white porch and quiet neighbors who bring cookies instead of judgment. Eli sleeps peacefully now. I wake up without dread pressing against my ribs. Most importantly, I learned something. I wasn't broken. I was targeted. And I didn't just survive. I exposed them. But even now, sometimes, when the house gets too quiet, I remember one thing Evan told his mother in one recording. "Lauren doesn't fight back. She folds." He was wrong. I didn't fold. I rebuilt. Piece by piece. And if anyone ever tries to erase me again, they'll learn exactly who I became in the fire they lit.